Good evening, Rob.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my bearing here. Who's with us? Okay. Louis,
Rav.
Shavua
Yes,
Tov. How are you,
Shavua
Louis?
Tov. Baruch
Thank you for
Hashem,
joining us.
everything.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Who else? Oh, Dr. Les. Sure.
Chodesh Tov, Rav.
Dr. Les.
Chodesh Tov.
Chodesh Tov Umvorach. You look like a lawyer from far away. Not like a
Rav,
dentist.
I'm actually at the Chasana. They just had the chuppah of Avishai Kutztag's son. It's Avishai and Tamar. She was a Ziskin, and it's like a South African reunion here in Yerushalayim. It's amazing seeing people from Telstone. It's just wonderful. So I thought I must come out. We just had the chuppah, and I found a quiet place. Anyway, Rav, I'll just tell you something very interesting. What happened today in Amsterdam? They invited President Herzog, and they inaugurated a Holocaust museum in the Jewish quarter in Amsterdam. And unfortunately, there was a massive Palestinian demonstration, pro-Palestinian, a very anti-Semitic. It's so ironic that here they're inaugurating a museum to commemorate the Holocaust, and there's anti-Semitic pro-Palestinian demonstration. It's so sad, but nearly 100,000, over 100,000 Jews, over 100,000 Jews were deported from Holland and actually were killed. It's one of the highest rates in Europe. And it's not known. There were many that were saved by righteous Gentiles, and I've actually had the great schut to meet many that were actually saved by righteous Chasidei Umat Olam. But many of their parents, or many that weren't hidden, were actually deported from Westerbork and then to Sobibor and to Auschwitz and to the different camps. So today they inaugurated this Holocaust Museum. President Herzog was invited by the king, and there was major disruptions by Sunni Israel, pro-Palestinian, but it turned into a very anti-Semitic. So it's just amazing. And not only in Holland, we have in Thornhill, in a Jewish shul in Thornhill, there were also demonstrations against an Israeli event. And I don't know if you remember the singer Matisyahu. He did a song One Day. So he had to cancel 3 of his events because the security aren't prepared to come to his events. So they've had to cancel 3 of the events. But besides from that, Rav, something unbelievable, and I don't think you're getting this in South Africa. They showed on R24, it's an amazing channel, but they showed that they went inside the tunnels and they found Sinwaz, where he was last before he fled. There's a safe, and there's millions and millions of US dollars that have been sent to the Hamas, and they're sitting there. They've taken a lot of it, but a lot of it they couldn't take, so it's left behind. And the Israeli army they've confiscated millions and millions of dollars. And the world looks at the Palestinians saying they're starving, and they're blaming Israel. They're actually blaming Israel for the starvation. But why didn't they spend these millions of dollars on buying food or helping their own people? But they kept it for themselves. And what's also quite unbelievable, America's thinking of making a port for Gaza, but a lot of the food that comes in is taken over by the Hamas for their own. They're stealing it from their own people. But when you look at BBC or Sky or any of the international news media, they blame Israel for the starvation of the Palestinians, which is just something absolutely incredible. It's the whole world is hafuch. It's like the opposite of the MS. And first of all, it's Rosh Chodesh and it's Adar, and Bezrat Hashem will save us like He saved in the story of Purim with Esther, and Bezrat Hashem we'll have salvation from Hashem, because Hashem is the only one that can save us.
אין לנו על מי להישען, אלא על אבינו שבשמיים. That's it.
Chodesh Tov. Yeah,
that's absolutely the most important. Yisher koach. Thank you, Dr. Les. Rosh Chodesh Tov to everyone. Rosh Chodesh Adar Bet. Rabotai, Adar Bet is the month that, if there's a leap year, that's the main Adar. But Hazal explained to us that the secret of Adar is a smiling, laughing. Why? Because everything turned. And Be'ezrat Hashem will see today in the Megillah that I hope that our friend Jeffrey have the Megillah in front of him. Jeffrey, you have the Megillah ready?
Yes, I do. Good evening.
We're going to go through it, Be'ezrat Hashem. Today, we're going to do chapter 3, 4, 5, and 6, because next Sunday is going to be the last session, because the following Sunday is Purim. So I don't know how many of us going to be with us, but let's see. Let's first finish one thing at a time. Let's tackle one thing at a time. Rabotai, I would like to dedicate the shiur in the soul of Ester Kaden bat Ketia, Mordechai ben Rahma, Tamar bat Zeava, Itan ben Keren ve'Avishai Nae, Malka Regina bat Joya, Yaakov Salomon ben Farha, Talha. Please God, refuah shlema to all of them. I need to mute.
Mute.
Okay, so now there's no more noise. I would like also to dedicate the shiur in health of Liora bat Miriam, Menashe Naji ben Faha, Rav Moshe ben Bayabati, Rav Moshe ben Devora, Rav Shlomo Yehuda ben Dalia, Rav Avraham ben Marina, Devora bat Ester, Sheina Keila bat Hana, Mordechai David ben Leah, Yehuda Hillel ben Shulamit Leah, Haim Nahum ben Pesa Reza Cohen, Baruch ben Sarah Hiena, Uva Kaden bat Tali Ester, Leah bat Rachel, Pesach Yitzhak ben Ela, Ayala Eden bat Rivka, Natalie Malka bat Shara Rivka Tal, Yehuda ben Eliezer, Meir ben Yehuda, and the last three that I'm going to mention, they actually been injured on Friday and then on Saturday. Ariel ben Shilat, that actually having now, he's doing his operation. He just got injured in Gaza. He's in Yehidat Maglan. Uri ben Yael veHanania Shalom ben Avigdor. Please God, refuah shlema to them, ולכל חולה ופצועי עמו ישראל בכל מקום שהם. בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח, והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. Okay, so we're gonna get started with the Megillah. רבותיי, I'm gonna do chapter 3, verse 9. And there the Megillah tells us something very interesting. Look what it said. It said like this in chapter 9, Ima al המלך טוב, ייכתב לאבדם, ו10,000 כיכר כסף אשכול על ידי עושה המלאכה, להביא אל גנזי המלך.
If it pleases the king, let it be recorded that they be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 silver talents into the hands of those who perform the duties for deposit in the king's treasuries.
What's happening here? We have to understand. We read it, but we're not always understanding what's happening. Haman HaRasha, Yemach Shemo v'Zichro. Amalek never changed. Amalek say to King Ahasuerus, Haman ben Hamdata HaAgagi. He was from the descendants of Hagag Melech Amalek. We'll speak about it later on in the show. Chazal say that Haman actually promising doing a deal with who? With King Ahasuerus. And he's saying to King Ahasuerus, if it's going to be allowed, put it in a record. That means let's send the letter, and that all the Jewish people are going to be killed and annihilated. On that merit, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to give 10,000 bar, okay? 10,000. Look what it says. ו10,000 כיכר כסף. 10,000 silver bar. I'm going to give the king, say Haman. First of all, let's understand what's happening here. In this verse, Haman HaRasha offer Ahasuerus, the king Ahasuerus, that if he gonna give him the permission to kill, to annihilate the Jewish people, he gonna give King Ahasuerus 10,000 bars of silver. How much is 10,000 bar of silver, you think? I checked in a mefarshim. Rabotai, listen to that. 300 tons. I repeat, 300 tons of silver. That's what does it mean. Hazal said that Haman promised King Ahasuerus 10,000 bars. What does it mean, 10,000 bar of silver? 300 tons of silver. It's unheard of. It's not the end. Look what it says. Al yedei oseh melacha. What does it mean, al yedei oseh melacha? By those that do the job. Who's those that doing the job? Hazal explaining that oseh melacha, those that do the job, you know who is he referring to?
Mass.
Those the people that gonna be killing the Jewish and slaughtering the Jewish, annihilating the Jewish, and then they're gonna loot. They're gonna loot all the spoil from the Jewish. So they also gonna get paid. But they have to give the King Ahasuerus 10,000 bar of silver, 300 tons of silver. It's unheard of. So when we read that verse, you see that actually was a plot here. It wasn't just that the King Ahasuerus decided, listen, I'm going to kill the Jews. Haman actually bribed King Ahasuerus. Not that King Ahasuerus loved the Jews. He definitely didn't love that. But what Amalek done, he bribed who? King Ahasuerus. Did that sound similar to what's happening not long ago in Hag? That someone have to give someone money to go to take us to the international court to bribe someone? Makes sense? You understand how the Amalekim work? The Amalekim work all about bribes. So now when we read that verse on Purim, we have to understand that it wasn't just a decision that the King Ahasuerus made. Ahasuerus wanted to get a benefit from it. What was the benefit? The benefit was that he's gonna get 300 tons of silver, bar of silver. That means 300 tons of silver. Unheard of. You know how much money is it?
Fortune.
Fortune, yeah, exactly. Let's go to verse 10 and look what it says in verse 10. In chapter 3, verse 10, if I'm not mistaken, in verse 10, yeah, verse 10, 1 second, צורר היהודים, yeah, definitely. ויסר המלך את טבעתו מעל ידו, ויתננה להמן, בן המדתה האגגי, צורר היהודים.
So the king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews.
Immediately the Mefarshim say, wait a minute. Why does it say צורר היהודים? צורר היהודים, that he hate the Jews. Haman HaRasha have a problem with Mordechai. What was the problem? Mordechai never bowed down to him. Everyone in the kingdom of Ahasuerus bowed down to who? To Haman HaRasha. Mordechai refused. We explained it in previous year. We bring different opinion. The one opinion that Mordechai didn't want to bow down, but Hazal tell us in a Gemara, in Masechet Megilat 13, folio 2, that the main reason that Mordechai didn't want to bow down to Haman HaRasha, because Haman HaRasha had a statue, a necklace with a statue of Avodah Zarah. That's on a pshat of the dvarim. But the Mefarshim explain in a midrash that that Haman Rasha, him and Mordechai was two officers in a Persian army. But Haman didn't know how to manage his supplies because they needed to go to put a city that tried to cause a coup, to conquer it, to overcome the coup. But Haman didn't control the food supply properly, and it was a lot of wastage. After a short while, the food is finished, and the soldier told Haman Rasha, if you're not going to give us something to eat, we're going to kill you. We need to eat, we're hungry. So he gone to Mordechai. Mordechai ran his platoon properly, his brigade properly, and he told them, no, I can't feed you. He said, but they're going to kill me. He said, so they're going to kill you. Anyway, Haman begged. Mordechai said to him in one condition. Sell yourself to slaves to me. You're going to be my slave. He said, I agree. He said, no. I need a letter. Why a letter? So later on, you can't change. So Chazal say that's why Mordechai never bowed down. Come the Mefarshim and explain something extraordinary. I don't understand. You have a problem with Mordechai. Why you hate all the Jews? Why you hate all the Jews? That's what the Mefarshim ask. What it means, Sorer HaYehudi? It's come to teach you that the Amalekim, it's not that they have a reason. They just hate the Jews. Amalek doesn't need a reason to fight with the Jew. He will come to fight with the Jew even if you come from a distance. Like we see, the Houthis have nothing to do with Eretz Israel, but they're still trying to attack. Iran, that the head of the snake, coming and trying to cause problem. What does it come to teach you? Amalek doesn't need a reason. Amalek just hates us. Said the Mefarshim, that's what it said, Sorer HaYehudim, the person that hates the Jews. Not that he need a reason. Because the reason that, we have a problem with Mordechai, so you should say Sorer Mordechai, the one that hates Mordechai. No. It said Sorer HaYehudim. They hate the Jews. Why? Because they don't need a reason. They just hate us because they're jealous of us. Be'ezrat Hashem, if we'll have time later on in the show, we'll speak about it. And now we can understand what does it mean in verse 10, Sorer HaYehudim. Let's go to verse 15. And here we see something very interesting. That's the last verse in this chapter. And it says like this, הרצים יצאו דחופים בדבר המלך, והדת ניתנה בשושן הבירה, והמלך והמן ישבו לשתות, והעיר שושן נבוכה.
The couriers went forth hurriedly by order of the king, and the edict was distributed in Shushan, the capital. The king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was bewildered.
Okay. What it means the city of Shushan was belogen. That means that the city of Shushan was upset. Many of us, when we read that verse, we think about only the Jews. Said the Mefarshim, it's not true. No. There's many of the Gentiles that lived in Shushan that wasn't happy with the letter that those messengers given everyone. That means was many of the non-Jewish people that live in Shushan that was actually surprised to see the hatred, okay, that came from the letter of the king, Ahashverosh. That means we think when we read that verse that it's only the Jews, but we have to understand in Shushan was other people that wasn't Jewish, and they also got upset. They also was disappointed from their king for his behavior. So when we read the verse, we have to understand that not only the Jews was in dire straits and was upset from all of that situation, was other nation that didn't agree with the behavior of King Ahasuerus. I would like to move on now to chapter 4. And in chapter 4, I'm actually going to go to verse 14. And here we see that Mordechai is speaking to Esther Malka. And let's see what he said to Esther Malka, because what Mordechai telling her, we have to understand, because at the beginning he talked to her, but then he threatened her. And we have to understand what's happening here. And it says like this in verse 14. אם החרש תחרישי בעת הזאת, רווח והצלה יעמוד ליהודים ממקום אחר, ואת ובית אביך תאבדו, ומי יודע אם לעת כזאת הגעת למלכות.
For if you persist in keeping silent at a time like this, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from some other place, while you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether it was just for a time, such a time as this, that you attained the royal position.
So here we see that Mordechai said to Esther Malka, if now you're going to keep quiet, basically, and this time, and you're not going to do anything about the situation, you and the father of your house, okay, the house of your father, going to be disappear and going to be annihilated. We have to understand what Mordechai saying to Esther. He actually threatening her. What's hiding behind that threat? On a pshat of the dvarim, Rabota, you can say, listen, he wanted to put her underneath stress, that if she's not going to speak the king, you know, that she have to go to the king and start doing something about the situation, because the Jewish people, they are now really in difficult time. But to understand that, you have to go to the Gemara in Masechet Megilat, page 13, folio 2. Chazal there says something extraordinary. Chazal explained, first of all, you have to understand where Esther Malka coming from. Esther Malka was from the descendants of the king Saul. Okay? Esther Malka from the lineage of King Saul. What happened with King Saul? Chazal in Sefer Melachim, the book of King, tell us a story that happened. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told the prophet Samuel to tell King Saul to kill the king of Amalek and the nation of Amalek. They gone to war, and the king, they killed the Amaleki, and they brought, when they brought back, they brought the king of Amalek, Gad, that was his name, and they brought flocks, sheep, cows, goats. When they brought it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to the prophet Samuel, I hear a noise. I don't understand what it's not. I hear the sound of the flock. What's happening here? The prophet Samuel gone to King Saul and said to him, what is that sound of the flock? He said, no, we brought the flock because we want to sacrifice from those kosher animals to the Almighty. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to the prophet Samuel, tell King Saul, I don't need those sacrifices. I don't want those animals to be sacrificed. What happened? The Hazal, the Mefarshim explain like this. They told to king to kill the king Hagag, the king of Amalek. They didn't done it. They brought him, they put him in captivity. That night, King Haman met a witchcraft, a woman, a wizard. And they was together, and she fell pregnant. The following morning, the prophet Samuel cut his head, chopped his head off the king of Amalek, but it was too late. Why? Because the night he spent time with a woman. She fell pregnant. So Amalek was already been developed, and that woman, that she was a wizard. The flock that they brought, Hazal explained that the Amalekim are the witchcrafters, the wizards, sorcerers. They turn themselves to kosher animal because they know that they're not going to be killed immediately. So what they wanted to do, they wanted to be put in a barn for the night, and then they're going to run away. So they turned themselves to kosher animal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu say to the prophet Samuel, tell King Saul that was a big mistake what he done, and that's what's going to be destroy his kingdomship. Now that's when he's going to lose his kingdomship. Okay, until here we understand. That means the mistake of King Saul was that number one, he didn't kill immediately Hagag. He waited until the prophet Samuel came and he killed him. The Mefarshim like this in the Gemara. Hazal say in the Gemara, here Mordechai actually coming and saying to Ester Malka, listen, you from the descendants of King Saul, you from his lineage. He never finished the job. You have the opportunity to finish the job. And that's the reason that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put you in that situation to become a queen. But if you're not going to help us to get rid of that Haman HaRasha, that he's from the descendants of Amalek, you and the house of your father going to be annihilated. What does it mean? That now you got a chance to rectify the mistake, the sin that been done by King Saul. Because King Saul shouldn't wait immediately to kill Hagag, the king of Amalek, and shouldn't have mercy on a flock. As a matter of fact, there wasn't flock, there was Amalekim, Hazal said, but later on they killed them. They killed those animals. And they found that there was a human being. It's come to tell you that here Mordechai, a Yehudi, saying to Esther Malka, listen, you have a chance. Although that you never been invited to the house of king for 30 days, I know that. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to try to rectify the mistake that's been made by Shaul HaMelech. Shaul HaMelech is the king Saul. You have now a chance to rectify that mistake that Shaul done. And Has v'Shalom, if you're not going to do it, you and your father's household and the entire member of Shaul going to be annihilated from the world. That means that Mordechai Tzaddik knew what was hiding behind that threat. That if she's not going to do it, Has v'Shalom, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will punish Esther and all of that descendants. And that's why he said to her, and Baruch Hashem, Esther, listen. Esther HaMalka, listen to Mordechai. By the way, I explained last week, Esther, her name is Hadassah. Esther, that's a Persian name. In the old Persian language, it means Astahar. Astahar, it's a beautiful star, a shining star. Mordechai His name was Petahia, Hazal say in the Gemara. Why they call him Petahia? Ask the Gemara. Because Mordechai was the head of the Sanhedrin. And every meeting that the Sanhedrin had, who used to open and start talking? The head, Mordechai. Shaya potech bedivre Torah, and that's why they call him Petahia. Okay, so now we understand what's happened here with the discussion of Mordechai to Esther. Let's continue, and now I'm going to go to chapter 5, verse 14. Here we're going to see, that's again the last verse on chapter 5, the last verse on chapter 5, and we'll see what it says. ותאמר לו זרש אשתו, וכל אוהביו, יעשו עץ גבוה 50 אמה, ובבוקר אמור למלך, ויתלו את מרדכי עליו. ובו עם המלך אל המשתה שמח, ויטב הדבר לפני המן, ויעש העץ.
Then his wife, Zeresh, and all his friends said to him, let a gallows be made, 50 cubits high, and tomorrow morning speak to the king, and have them hang Mordecai on it. Then in good spirits accompany the king to the banquet. This suggestion pleased Haman, and he had the gallows erected.
Okay. Rabotai, when I'm going to speak on this verse, because this verse, you have to focus. And this verse comes to teach us what Hazal tell us in a Gemara in Masechet Nida, 45:2. Before I'm going to start the translation of that, I want to start with the Gemara in Masechet Nida. Hazal in the Gemara in Masechet Nida in page 45:2, folio 2, Hazal say, Bina yetera nitna laisha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu given a special wisdom to the woman, more than a man. What does it mean? Hazal explained that the woman have a special intuition, especially with visitors, especially with people. She can sense who's a dangerous person. Sometimes the husband want to do a business deal and he bring a friend or he's sitting on a table. She can sense what's wrong and what's right. Why am I saying it? Because here we see that Haman al-Rasha never listened to his wife. You remember last week I explained that Zeresh, we brought the Midrash, that Zeresh used to beat her husband. Not for nothing. And now Haman never used to listen to her. And look what it say here. We have to focus what it say. It say at the verse like this. Let's start from the beginning. Vatomer lo. And she said to him, Zeresh, the wife of Haman, said to him, and all of these people that surrounding him, that love him, Yasu etz gavoa 50 ama. That you should erect, not you, make sure that will be erect a gallows and a height of 50 ama. The number 50, we will explain later on where is it come that 50, why that 50. But Rabota, it said that should be erect. It sounds like Haman listened to it, but he didn't. Because it said, Vaya'as ha'etz, and he made the gallows. But that's not what Zeresh told him. Zeresh said to Haman, Ya'asu, in plural, not in singularly, ta'aseh, Ya'asu. That means Zeresh said to Haman, Haman, listen to me. I know that you have a problem with Mordechai, that he doesn't want to bow down to you. What I suggest to you, make a gallows, but you don't do it yourself. Make sure that other people will do it. Ya'asu. That means make sure that they will make a gallows 50 amma. 15 amma height, that means 25-meter height. And on that gallows, immediately after it's been erected, the following morning you're going where? To King Ahasuerus. And you ask him to hang Mordechai immediately. What's happened? Mordechai, Mordechai, from his anger and excitement, he made the gallows. He was involved himself with making the gallows. What's happening here? The Midrash tells us that Zeresh said to Haman, don't build yourself the gallows. Don't get involved with building the gallows for Mordechai. Let other people do it. That means that you learn from here that there is a reason that she said to him, let other people do. The Mefarshim asked, why did she say to him, let other people do, and you don't get involved? She said to him, listen to me. If you're going to get involved with doing the gallows, you're going to have a problem. What's your problem? Your problem going to be that if you're going to build it, you actually going to be bringing the bad decree on yourself. That means the judgment that you want to do to Mordechai, it will turn to you. But Haman didn't listen to his wife. Although that from this verse it sounds like he listened to Zeresh, that's the wife, he didn't. Why? Because Chazal say if Haman will let other people do the gallows, it would be much better chance, Has v'shalom, that Mordechai going to be hanged. By that he himself took the initiative to do the gallows, to build the gallows with his own hand, it created a situation that he actually built it. And because you have a criticize against Haman, against Mordechai, you Haman going to be hanged on it. And we know that in the end, he been hanged. And that's what's happened. Zeresh, that was, although that she was a sorcerer, a witchcrafter, but she had a bit of a wisdom. That she was a strong woman, she used to beat him. But Hazal say that after Haman released that letter, she calmed down. He have a bit of a control of her. But he done now Dafka exactly the opposite what she wanted, what she suggested. Where do we learn that he didn't listen to her? The Pasuk say, again, Uba Boker, Emor lamelech v'itlu et Mordechai. And in the morning, tell the king, and they will hang Mordechai. The Mefarshim explain, again, that here, Haman HaRasha didn't listen to his Zeresh sister. The wife said to him, listen, first thing in the morning, go to the king and tell him to hang Mordechai. Haman, when did he come? At midnight, we know. That's when the king couldn't sleep. The king couldn't sleep. He asked to bring the book of memory. When they brought him the book of memory at midnight, he read that Mordechai saved his life. That Bigtan Vateresh wanted to kill him. And he asked, listen, what happened with this Mordechai? That he'd been rewarded, didn't been rewarded? They say nothing. It's not rewarded. While he asking The people that reading from the book of memory, who was in a doorstep? Haman HaRasha. Say, the king, I don't understand. Nothing been rewarded to Mordechai. They say nothing. When Haman suddenly woke, he said to Haman, Haman, what do you suggest? How to reward the person that the king most favored him? We know that Haman was thinking that he's speaking to himself, that the king's speaking about him. And we know that he told them, gonna ride with the garment of the beautiful dress, or the garment, I don't know how you call it, of the king. Not only that, sorry?
Cloak.
The
It's like a
cloak.
cloak.
Not only that, to ride on the horse of the king, and etc. And the king listened to it, and he said, that's what you're gonna do to Mordechai. Not only that, you're gonna shout. That's what's gonna happen to a person that the king favored him. So what's happened? Mordechai been rewarded now. Mordechai doesn't know it yet. Mordechai doesn't know it yet. But again, Haman HaRasha didn't listen to his wife. The wife told him, go in the morning. When is he going? Midnight. Okay? That's not the end. Hazal explained to us that from here you learn that Haman done exactly the opposite what his wife suggested. Now we say that we're going to explain the 50 Amma. The mystical rabbi, the 50 Amma, 50 is gematria of Nun. The latest Nun is gematria 50. So that's the gematria of the latest Nun that starts the word Nahash, snake. He said that that's what happened with the Nahash HaKadmoni. When the snake enticed Hava and Adam HaRishon to eat from the tree of knowledge. That means that that's where all the Amalekim come. That's where all the hatred started. Amalek start from where? From the Nahash, from the snake. And that's what they chose the 50. Let's go now to verse 6 and chapter 6, verse 13. And here we see what Haman telling his wife, like we explained, and what is she suggest to him, what to do. And look what it said. ויספר המן לזרש אשתו ולכל אוהביו את כל אשר קראו, ויאמרו לו חכמיו וזרש אשתו, אם מזרע היהודים מרדכי, אשר החלותה לנפול לפניו, לא תוכל לו, כי נפול תיפול לפניו.
Haman told his wife Zeresh and all his friends everything that happened to him. And his advisors and his wife, Zeresh, said to him, if Mordechai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish descent, you will not prevail against him, but will undoubtedly fall before him.
Okay, what's happening here? We have to understand what's happening here. Rabotai, when we read it, we think that Zeresh and Haman advisors just given him a knockout, a negative. But the Midrash says exactly the opposite. It's not exactly. Listen what's happened. After what's happened with Haman, that he need to walk Mordechai, a Yehudi, in the city of Shushan, he came back home and he told them what's happened, the embarrassment. His wife, Zeresh, and the advisor, said to him, listen, you started with Mordechai. Says Zeresh to Mordechai, listen to me. What I suggest to you immediately, I want you to understand one thing. If you're not going to go and beg to Mordechai and go and take the gallows down, you're going to be in big trouble. I suggest to you, bring the gallows down, go to Mordechai, fall to his feet, beg to him, cry to him, kiss his feet to forgive you for what you planned to do to him. What is Haman answered them? Kol asher karau. The Midrash say what happened to him. The Midrash, the Chazal in the Midrash say, Haman HaRasha say to Zeresh, his wife, and to his advisors, he said to them, it was all a coincidence that I walked at night and suddenly the king was reading the book of memory and etc. The Chazal that Zeresh said to Haman, I think that it's time to wake up. You think that it was all coincidence? Et asher karau? I'm telling you, if you not going to listen to me, and you're not going to bring the gallows down, and you're not going to go and cry and beg for forgiveness and kiss Mordechai's feet, you're going to fall down before. That means that the chance that you're going to be hanged, it's going to be faster than Mordechai. She said to him, listen, you say it's a coincidence? With the Jewish people, there is no coincidence. And by just for general knowledge, coincidence is mikre. Turn the letters around, mikre. What would you get? Rak me'Hashem. Rabotai, take the word mikre, acronym of 8 letters, rak me'Hashem, only from the Almighty. Say the Mefarshim something extraordinary. Say the Mefarshim that here Zeresh saying to Haman, listen, if you don't want to be hanging on that gallows, you better quick run to Mordechai, bring the gallows down, and beg for forgiveness. But we saw what happened. Haman HaRasha didn't. Haman HaRasha, what is he wanted? He didn't want anything. He wanted one thing. He wanted to kill Mordechai. And everything he put, that maybe it's a coincidence. That's all what's happened. He didn't realize that everything already starting to turn against him. Zeresh himself telling him, his advisor suggesting to him, Haman HaRasha with his wickedness. And that was the downfall of Haman HaRasha. And Chazal telling us, Rabotai, something very interesting in the Gemara. Rasha'im, a wicked people, al pitha shel gehenam enam osim tshuva. What does it mean? Wicked people, on a gate of Gehenna, they will never do tshuva. They're never gonna do tshuva for their sin. That means they're never gonna do repentance. Haman HaRasha saw what's happening. He wasn't stupid. Haman wasn't stupid. But Haman, because he had the desire of hatred, the desire that he wanted to destroy, to kill, to annihilate the Jewish people, that's desire make him blind to the situation. And when we read that verse, we have to understand that Zeresh, his wife, didn't just give him advice, listen, it's time to understand that it's finished your career. By the way, you know how long was the career that we spoken about Haman HaRasha? How many days? 70 days. From the moment that Haman, that's Memuchan, Hazal in Gemara in Masechet Megilat, Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, that's mean 13 folio 1, say Haman, Memuchan, sorry, Hazal say Memuchan. Who was Memuchan? He is the one that given the advice to kill who? Vashti, the Queen Vashti, you remember? Memuchan, who Haman? Memuchan, he's a man. Hamukhan lapur'anu. From that day that he given the advice, that he starts to climb up and to become very important, he reached that he becomes second to the king Ahasuerus. It was only 70 days. Only 2 months and 10 days. Say Hazal. 2 months and 10 days. In 2 months and 10 days, he becomes second to the king. But because his hatred, Hazal say, he didn't see, or not, no, it's wrong. Because he was a clever man. He didn't want to accept that it's going to be his downfall. That's what Hazal explained. What do we learn from here? Rabotai, we have to learn something from here. Sometimes a person gets cross. Sometimes people get angry. Sometimes people over-exaggerating. Sit and think about it. Listen to advice that people give you. Haman was so much hate, have so much hatred in him, that to destroy the Jewish people, he forgot who he's speaking to. He forgot who's speaking to him. Not only that, he didn't realize that what he's doing, he's shooting himself on the foot. That was his mistake. So everyone giving him the advice, and he go against that. To teach us something very important. Sometime in life, we stuck to something. We want something. And we davening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give us. We have a desire for something. But we see that it doesn't come. If you see that it doesn't come, stop. Don't continue. Because in the end, it's going to turn against you. And that's what Hazal telling us here. Hazal telling us here that Haman, from his hatred to the Jewish people, couldn't stop, couldn't listen to advice of other people. Be'ezrat Hashem, Rabotai, that we should learn from it, to understand that sometime when HaKadosh Baruch Hu send us message, we should listen to those messages. Little messages. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always send every human being a message. We have to know if we're listening or we're not listening. You need a special wisdom for it. But sometimes it's not only wisdom. Sometimes we have to stop for a second and say, wait a minute. Pasop, vachaviki. Is that good for me or not? If HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want it to give it to me so quickly, I need to understand that it's not good for me. And that's the message here in this verse. Rabotai, we have to understand that the month of Adar, it's a month that everything can turn upside down. It's called Venahafochu. Venahafochu. That means everything can turn upside down. We have to believe that in this month, everything turn only good for the Jewish people. Okay? And those, our enemies, those that hate us, okay? You have to understand that they can't harm us on this month. Only if HaKadosh Baruch Hu given them a permission. But in this month, especially in this month, they can't do anything. Okay? Let's take this month. It's Purim. What's so special about Purim? Chazal said that the virtue of Purim, the festival of Purim, it's the same like Yom Kippurim. The same like Yom Kippur. Why? In Yom Kippur, how do we do atonement? We're not eating, we're not drinking, we're not allowed to be with our wife. Everything is physical. That means to uplift ourselves spiritually, we have to overcome the physical in us. That means the physical desire that we have, to overcome it. We're not allowed to have shower. That means don't get benefit from what? From having shower. Again, physical. In Purim, what is the mitzvah? To have a Sauda. That means physical. In Purim,
Eat and be happy.
To eat, yeah, the Sauda. In Purim, we have another thing that we have to do. To give money to who? Matanot la'evyonim. That means give money to who? To the poor people. We have another mitzvah. Mishloach manot ish lere'eu. To send gift, food, one to each other. All physical. Say Chazal, in Yom Kippurim, we do it, we're working on things that all the physical we're not allowed. How do we uplift ourselves? By that we're reframing ourselves from the physical. As I'll say, but in Purim, what are you doing? You uplift yourself spiritually with the physicality. That means eat, drink. As I'll tell us that the person higher inshe lebesume ad delo yoda. Person have to drink, not to get drunk. That it doesn't say. People have to be exactly correct what it says. Ad delo yoda. What it means ad delo yoda? Person must drink, and the drink gonna make a bit heavy, and he fall asleep. And when he fall asleep, then he doesn't know ad delo yoda ben arur Haman lebaruch Mordechai. Then he doesn't know when he sleep the difference between the curse Haman and the blessed Mordechai. So we see that the mitzvot of Purim, it's all physicality. Eat, drink, have a Sauda. Not only that, give matanot ish lere'eu, give matanot la'evyonim, to read the Megilat. That's how you lift yourself spiritually. Exactly the opposite of Yom Kippur. And that's why, Rabotai, it's 7.5. That's how we can change everything. That's when we can change everything. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help us this year, and He will send us Mashiach Tzidkenu, and will say enough. He say enough to all our chores that we have. If it's from Mibait, from inside us, if it's from outside, with all our enemy, those that hate us, those that want to annihilate us, that please God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will send Mashiach, and He gonna release the hostages, and He gonna say enough, and let Him do the war with our enemy. And then, Be'ezrat Hashem, that we should all merit to see the coming and the building of the third Bet HaMikdash speedily in our day. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. I want to add up one more thing, Rabota, and that's very important. There's a custom of Mahatzit Shekel that we spoke last week. It's very important that the person should give that, okay? But that's not Matanot La'Evyonim. You can't make it Matanot La'Evyonim. Many people say that that's Matanot La'Evyonim. No, that's not Matanot La'Evyonim. Okay? So, Rabotai, I hope that you enjoy the commentary. I hope that that will give us a different way to understand the Megilat Ester when we read it in Purim during the day, when we read it at night. It will give us a different way to open our eyes and to see what's hiding behind Megilat Ester. Ester, it's Milshon Hastara, hidden. Why they call it Megilat Ester? Why Dafka Ester? They didn't call it Megilat Mordechai. They call it Megilat Ester. Why? Because everything here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed Himself without us seeing. That means everything was hidden. HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't reveal Himself like He revealed Himself to the Jewish people when there was in Egypt. When He took them through the desert, when He crossed the sea for them with the 10 plagues, it's come to teach us that Megillat Esther, it's all about hidden. In life, there's many things that hidden for us. But we have to remember, even when it's look bad, Hazal say, Kol de'avid rahamana letav avid. That's Rabbi Akiva. What does it mean? Whatever the Almighty do, it's only for good. But we just have to understand what's hiding behind it. And Be'ezrat Hashem, that we manage to understand and we have the wisdom, the chokhmah, to understand all of it, the same like it's work in Megillat Ester, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu done the Jews in Shushan, He will do to us speedily in our day. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. If you have any question, Bechavod, please unmute the microphone and ask question. Bechavod.
Harav Stephen.
Erev Tov, Stephen.
Harav, tell me where would Haman have got the 300 tons of silver?
Pashut. He gonna kill, he gonna annihilate the Jews, and he gonna take it from the Jews.
But wouldn't Hashverosh wanted to have it before he went to annihilate the Jews?
Sorry, say again.
No.
Ahashverosh wanted.
He wouldn't trust him to give him the money after he killed the Jews. He probably wanted the money before.
No, he couldn't. No, he said to him that
Ash is king.
When you're gonna get it? By those that gonna do the job. Who's those that gonna do the job? That's what I explained. Who they are?
Sorry, you broke up, Rabbi.
Gonna kill those that gonna loot. Those gonna do take all the spoil. And they're going to give it to who?
Okay.
A king Ahashverosh.
Right.
That's the chokhmah. He said to him,
right.
I'll do what you deal. I'm going to give you 300 tons of silver. But give me the permission
that was
to kill all the Jews in 127 countries. It wasn't just in Shushan.
Well, that's a lot of wealth.
It's a lot of silver, but it's a lot of countries.
It's a lot of wealth.
It's a lot of wealth, for sure.
And how much money the Jews must have had then at that time?
What? Sorry? How much?
So how much wealth the Jews must have had if all the countries.
But it's not that only to the king. the king gonna take 300 tons of silver.
Yeah.
That's the king himself.
But even
Those
more.
that kill, those that going to do the job in every country, they're gonna get paid. Haman himself gonna get paid.
Yeah.
Just think,
Yeah.
they're killing in 127
That-
countries.
That's billions.
What
That's
about the
billions.
houses?
But-
Billions is not the word.
You must
They're gonna take houses. They're gonna take everything that they have. Everything.
Yeah. Like the Nazis, you must
No different. No different. Now you understand. We read the Megillah and we're going through it without understanding what the Megillah tried to tell us, the hatred of Amalek to us.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. Well, to me, Yishmael or this guy, Amalek in disguise.
What's the difference? זה נבלה וזה טרפה. The Gaon Mivilna said, the Gaon Mivilna, Rabbi Eliyahu Mivilna, he born around 303 years ago. Omer Gaon Mivilna, Omer Gaon Mivilna,
Yes, yeah.
1 second, I just want to mute because there's noise at the back. Okay, I'm muted.
Yeah.
Said the Gaon Mivilna, something extraordinary. Said the Gaon Mivilna, you know who's Amalek? Today we don't know who's Amalekim. Say whoever fight with the Jewish people,
They are
that
Amalek.
one annihilate the Jewish people, you know he's from the descendants of Amalek.
Yeah.
Who was Amalek? Amalek was a mix of Ishmael and Edom.
And they're all over.
It was Esav took who? Mahlat. Who was
That's
Mahlat?
right, from Ishmael.
From Ishmael. Edom,
Precisely.
who was Edom? Esav.
That's right. So
Mahlat.
from Edom came
Ishmael.
precisely.
That's where it came.
I've always said that. They come together.
That's the Hiddush. It's not a Hiddush that the Ishmaelim, they are Amalekim. It can be any nation. It's a mix.
Yeah.
בסדר?
Yeah.
So now that will help you where they have all of this wealth. 127 countries. All the Jews in all of those countries, you take all their vehicle, okay, they didn't have maybe car, but they have chariot, they have horses. You take their houses, you take everything that they have. That's mean that you loot all the spoil.
Precisely.
We don't understand when we're reading the Megillah what's happening.
And that's exactly what.
Mefarshim.
And that's what. If you look at it today, that's what Hamas were trying to do as well.
Pashut. Shkwa, very good question. Any other question, Rabotai? Who wanted to ask? Bechavod, unmute the microphone and you can ask. Bechavod, those of you that want to ask. Bechavod.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, friend. Erev Tov, how are you?
All right, and yourself. I want to ask you two questions. The one question, remember, said they sent out the first letter to say they should kill all the Jews. Correct?
No, that's not correct. The first letter was that Haman sent that a man should be the ruler in his house. Wait.
Yeah.
And the woman have to speak the same language of the husband.
Right.
That was the first letter.
Wow, I see.
The
So
second letter was to kill all the Jews.
Yes.
So Hazal say that actually the first letter would save the Jewish people. Why? Because when the woman got the first letter and they read it, there was cross about King Ahasuerus. They say he's a crazy king. Look what orders. He want us to become slave in our own house. When he sent the second letter, the woman said, that's again from this crazy king. They tried to the dustbin, so no one read it. Hazal explained.
Right. The other thing, they only built one gallows for one person 50 meters high, correct? But when did they build all the others afterwards, you know, to hang all the other sons?
ויתלו את המן ואת 10 בניו. יצא.
Yeah.
Esther המלכה asked a permission to hang Haman. Not
Right.
only him and his 10 sons. Who's those 10 sons? Haman, in the Gemara, there is different opinion. According to one opinion, he had over 70 kids
Oh,
from all different women. But the
Right.
10 kids that Chazal tell us that they hang in the Megillah, that's from Zeresh. According to other opinion, she also been hanged with them.
yes.
You
I was
follow?
going to say, did she, being so clever, know that she would have been hung as well?
For sure. Because she know if they're going to punish the husband, they're going to punish her.
Yeah.
Why not? She's
Okay.
Amalek like him.
Yeah.
We have a
Okay,
mitzvah
thanks.
from the Torah. Machot
Yeah.
timche et zecher Amalek.
Yeah.
בסדר?
Yeah. Thanks,
Okay,
Rabbi.
good. Pleasure.
Thank you. Okay.
Sure. Any other question, Rabota? Anyone want to ask more question? Maybe I didn't answer. Don't be shy. Unmute the microphone.
Hello, it's Anthony. How are you?
Erev Tov, Antonio.
Was Haman originally a barber? Haman, was he originally a
Haman.
barber?
Haman, we explained in previous year, Haman was a barber. Where do we learn that? Vaisaper Haman leishto. What does it mean, Vaisaper? The Mefarshim say, from here you learn that Haman was first a barber. He used to cut men's hair for 17 years.
Okay, thanks very much.
You remember that we explained that in previous year.
Yes. I just wanted to remember, yeah, I just was thinking about it.
And then he became an officer. And then he started joining the army of the Persian, and then he became an officer.
Become an officer.
Yeah. And later on, he became member of the parliament. He was member of the parliament, as Hazal tell us. Memukhan. Memukhan. Mukhan la Pur'anut, Hazal say in the Gemara. But what it means, Memukhan? He was the little minister there. But he managed to push himself to a higher position. You follow?
Yes. Okay, thanks very much.
Pleasure. Yeah. Any other question? Rabotai Bechavod. Those of you that want to ask question, Bechavod. Yeah. No problem. Unmute the microphone and ask. Bechavod. If there is any question regarding the Megillah.
Rob, can I just have a question? Good evening. Hi.
Erev Tov. Thank you for reading for us.
Total pleasure. Rob, I find a difficulty. Mordechai said to Esther, listen, if you don't do this thing and approach the king and you try and avoid and avert this terrible disaster, it's going to come back on you and your father's household, and it's not going to turn out good for anyone. Mordechai, wasn't he from the same house?
Nachon.
Wasn't he? Was his uncle.
That's
So he was
exactly this question that my wife asked me. Because Mordechai knew that if she's not going to save him, he's going to die also.
Yeah.
He's going to die.
And he was
Listen, what are you doing? You need to save us all, or we're all going to die. Do you understand why he threatened her like this?
You'd think because Esther did this thing, you would think this in itself would have been the rectification of Shaul's sin. But it's not, because it's continually carrying on in history, where people are all hating us, they still go ahead and want to kill us, and that hatred is always there. It
Yeah.
couldn't recognize such a big sin by leaving the king alive that that's how the world is. The whole world hates us, and it's our job to try and bring love and kindness into the world and try and be an antidote to all this hatred.
Nachon. And that's what Mordechai done. He told her, listen, if you're not going to go now to the king, Nachon, that you've never been called for 30 days. We're all going to be dying. We're all going to die. Do you understand what you're doing? It's all in your hand. You understand, Jeffrey?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you have to understand. What he said to her, if you're not going to save us, we're all going to die. You and your father's household. We're all going to die.
Yeah, yeah.
But when we read it, when we read the Megillah been written in a way that everything is hidden. You understand, Jeffrey? That's what's called Megilat Ester. It didn't been read in a way that we can understand it simply. And that's why there is mefarshim that help us to understand behind it. And that's why I brought Gemarot, I brought mefarshim, I brought all different, I brought the Midrashim. All the time I'm bringing different commentary.
Sure. Yeah.
And what I'm bringing, it's different verses that I didn't done last year. Every year I'm trying to do verses that I didn't done in previous year. You know, we're doing that Shorim already over 10 years.
Yeah.
So every year I'm bringing different Hidushim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu give me the wisdom to find them, to see them, to read about them, you know, from all different mefarshim.
Sure.
That means that there is so much interpretation, like you can't believe. Like about the king Ahashverosh, what we spoke. You know how many idea why they call him Ahashverosh? And we explained last week that his name is not Ahashverosh, it's Kamibaz. So why did they call him Ahashverosh? If it's Kamibaz, why Ahashverosh? If Ahashverosh, so why Kamibaz? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Beseder?
Yeah.
I hope that I pass the message clear enough to understand.
So the question is, in today's day, where is our Esther? Where is our Mordechai?
Oh, that question is a beautiful thing. Today, the Gedolim that we have, they are Mordechai and Esther. The difference is that today we don't want to listen to Gedolim. No one want to listen to Gedolim. Who want to listen to the Gedolim?
Yeah, a minority.
If it's amongst the Sfaradim, if it's amongst the Ashkenazim, we have all the time mahlokot. This rabbi is better, this rabbi is better. But I don't think so, because the rabbi among themselves living in peace and harmony, they don't have a problem. We are the ones that have the problem. We, the little one, have the problem. My rabbi is better, your rabbi is less. That's Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel. What it means, Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel? The household of Bet Shammai, the household of Bet Hillel. What was the argument? My rabbi said like this. But Shammai and Hillel was in peace, lived together in peace and harmony. They married each other. That's the difference. That if the Rebbe say like this, no, this Rebbe is no good, this Rebbe is no good. Who the hell you are to say those commentary? Who given you the rights to say that? The Gedolim of the generation, they are our eyes.
Rav?
Yeah, בכבוד, כן. כן, בכבוד. Hello? Stephen, I can't hear you. Stephen, you wanted to say something? I think that you paused yourself, or no connection for some reason. No connection. But you understand me, Jeffrey?
Yeah, but how do we get the message across? This is critical. At this moment
That's the
in time,
chokhmah.
there's
The
always a
chokhmah
moment.
The chokhmah is when we listen to Talmidei Chachamim.
Yeah.
זה לא פשוט, לא פשוט. No.
So it's an interesting historical fact. There was a Persian king called Cambyses, and Cambyses when he went
Stephen,
into Egypt, he went
maybe Stephen, let me suggest, maybe if you put your video, you'll get a better connection, because I
That
can't.
better?
Okay, that's much better. Yeah.
There was a historical king called Cambyses, which is very similar to this king that you're saying, who actually went to try and conquer Egypt, and he wanted to go into one of these auguries in Egypt to get affirmation as to his legitimacy, and he sent a whole battalion into the desert, and it got lost. It might be a Achashverosh. Because what you're saying, what was the name? What was his actual name?
What happened that it was a city that tried to cause a coup. I explained that. Why Mordechai never bowed down.
From a
But the
historical,
there's a lot of midrashim about it. The one midrash say, who was the mother of the biological mother of Ahashverosh? The mother of the Ahashverosh was a princess, but he brought up by a female dog, because she fell pregnant to a soldier when she never married to him, and the king killed that soldier, but he didn't want to be embarrassed that his wife fell pregnant without marriage. So he chased them away, and when she delivered the baby, he said to her, you leave him in the wilderness, he'll die, and you can come home. And then no one will know that she was pregnant. And she left him in the wilderness. She didn't have a choice. And even if she had a choice, it wouldn't be any different. So he left in the wilderness, and came a female dog. And for 3 years, she used to nurse him. She used to breastfeed him. And if that's why the Ahashverosh become very wild. Ahashverosh, he was such a, he couldn't talk to people. He just used to fight. We say, what does it mean Ahashverosh? Kol mi sheshomea et shmo Hashverosho. You just hear his name, you know that it's a headache. They get a migraine. We used to fight. Hazal in the Gemara.
Yeah.
Sheishhir shinam shel Israel. That he make the Jewish people teeth black. Why? Because all the teeth. And he used to text people like you can't believe. He didn't have mercy. Why? Because he brought up like a wild animal.
Yeah.
If you want to read a lot about it, there is Rabbi Yaakov Koli. I don't know if you hear about him. Rabbi Yaakov Koli wrote Midrash. What is it called, the Midrash? Rabbi Yaakov Koli, no? It just slipped my mind. It's a very beautiful Midrash. He wrote about all the Tanakh, and all the books of the Tanakh. If you want to read, what is it called? Midrash? I don't know. It split my mind. It just sitting on my tongue doesn't come. A beautiful Midrashim, and if you read his Midrash about Megilat Ester, You're going to be fascinated. You start, Me'am Lo'ez. Yeah, my wife, correct, remind me, Me'am Lo'ez. Midrash Me'am Lo'ez. Midrash Me'am Lo'ez. You start with that from the moment that you open the book until you finish it, you can't close it. Amazing, amazing Midrash. He bring you Midrashim like you can't believe about Megilat Ester.
I must try and get it.
Yeah, beautiful. And they have it in English. Huh? The first publication was that he published it in Turkey.
I can do Hebrew. I don't.
No, it's not Hebrew.
Turkey.
The first publication, the first, he published it in Turkey, in Arabic,
in Turkish, right?
in Ladino.
Yeah.
Then he changed it he published it in Ladino. Then they translated to English, to Hebrew.
Oh, wow.
You can't believe. Rabbi
Sure.
Yaakov called it. Unbelievable. I'm listening to you, Me'am Lo'ez. You're going to read it, it's a different. And this is one midrash. There's many other midrashim. Who was Kamibaz? No, he was beyond understanding. He just wanted to conquer. He had the desire to conquer and conquer.
Like Alexander the Greek.
Yeah. And he conquered, and he never stopped. He gone to Greece. He gone to Persia. From Persia, he gone to Babylon. He didn't stop. He gone to them. They didn't have to come to him. He gone to them. Like Alexander the Great.
Exactly the same.
He had a sickness of become a king.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Imagine that the woman that brought him up, the nurse that brought him up, was a female dog. Unheard of.
Well, there is another story where they say the founder of Rome was also brought up by dogs. Romulus and Remus.
There's other interpretation that said that Ahashverosh was, listen to that, to Vashti. Vashti, her grandfather was Nebuchadnezzar.
Yes.
Ahashverosh used to look after the horses of who? Of Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
Do you understand? There's many midrashim.
But also, Rav, you said that he was married to a princess, but we also say that when it says that when he was sitting on his throne, Beshevet, he was not
the Gemara
really
in Masechet Megilah 13 folio 1 that say that he never had any royal blood on him.
Yeah, so that
that's what you're referring. We explained it in previous year, that he bought his position. He manipulates his position. He used a bit of arm, he used a bit of money, and then he become a king. You know, you have to pay money, bribe. This one I need to get rid of. I will get rid of that man. Yeah. Beshifto, that he bought. He paid for that. Different interpretation that we explained
before
in previous year. What it means, Beshifto al Kisei HaMelech. Kisei HaMelech, what is that chair? That was the chair that they tried to copy the chair of Shlomo HaMelech. Remember, last year we spoke about it. Which chair? You remember that we spoke, that he tried to copy the chair of Shlomo HaMelech.
Yeah.
But those interpretations we say last year, this year we bring in different. Each year we bring in different.
I'm just saying, remembering that, because you said, remember, you're saying he was born from a princess, and so there would be some sort of legitimacy. But this is a different.
Baruch Hashem, you see? You see how important is it to listen to Shawin?
100%.
More knowledge.
100%.
Be'ezrat Hashem, Rabotai. There's any more questions, Rabotai?
I want to tell you that yes, I celebrated my personal. I started my Daf Yomi, Daf Yomi on Bab Metzia. So yes, Daf Yomi.
You finish Baba Metzia. Wow. Shkoch. How many people can say
No,
that?
the whole of Shab.
Wow.
That's
All
not-
the
that's
Shas.
not-
Nocha. Wow. Shkoch. How
Yeah.
many years took you, Stephen?
That's not my third cycle.
Yeah, but how many years it took you?
14 years. It's 14 years over 2 cycles. Now I'm in my third year cycle.
Wow. No, please God, Mihail El Hay. Shkoch.
Amen.
You know,
Amen.
Mihail El Hay.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
Yeah. Thank you, Rav.
Shkoch. Well done. Well done. No, שלא תפסיק התורה מפיך.
Amen. Amen.
What I mean, what I bless Stephen, that the Torah will never stop coming out of his mouth.
Amen.
Thank you, Rav.
Shkoch, shkoch. Okay, Rabotai, any other question? No.
Rav,
And that's,
Rav,
yes.
just
Yeah,
one
yeah,
more
yeah.
question.
Bechavod.
Haman's wife Zeresh. She
Zeresh,
told
כן,
him
כן,
to
כן.
build the gallows, do it personally, do everything. Why afterwards then she said, if Mordechai was a Jew, you're not going to succeed. But she must have known that already.
Well, she didn't know that he's a Jew, exactly. No,
So she didn't know. Because,
she did. She
she
did
must,
know.
because I mean, he must have come and told her 1,000 times.
Sure,
This guy
for sure. What is the idea here? She told them that whoever goes against the Jew, in the end, die, disappear. Look what's happened to King Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Look what's happened to Nebuchadnezzar. Look what's happened to any person that's gone against the Jew. Akadosh Baruch Hu bring him up to the top, and suddenly give him a clap, and they disappear. You don't hear about them anymore. They disappear from the world.
But when Haman, when Haman said it's all circumstantial, that this happened about the book of Chronicles, you call the book of
That's
Remembrance.
it. That's when she said to him, no. Now you're going to fall in the hand of the Jewish people. Because you have to understand that in the Jewish people, it didn't happen, a coincidence. But until she realized that, she hated the Jew as much as him. She wasn't in favor of the Jew.
But that's
when
Amalek.
But when she saw
Yes.
that they're starting to go down, she said to him, stop, go back. He didn't want. You know, his proud, his arrogancy, his yichus wouldn't allow him. You follow, Jeffrey?
Yeah.
When she realized that everything turning, she said to him, Haman, do it. He didn't want to listen. You follow, Jeffrey?
Yeah. Well, I don't think Hamas are listening either. They're not listening as they're going down, and they're not listening. And we know everything, whether we're listening or not to a Gedolim, it's, as you just said earlier, Rak Me'Hashem. That's what it
Everything from
is.
Hashem.
That is our,
What do you think?
That is the
But Akol bidei shamayim, chutz mirat shamayim. Everything in the hand of heaven except the fear of heaven. To listen to Gedolim is the fear of heaven. That we have to listen. That's what's happened in the 7th of October. Yes, it's from Shammai. But when the Gedolim tell you enough with the mahloket, leave the Talmidei Chachamim, the Avrechim, to learn in yeshiva. Leave them. Ben Gurion didn't have a problem with that. Why suddenly Benny Gantz wake up? What's wrong, Benny? What's wake you up? David HaMelech have a soldier. David HaMelech have an army. but he have also Talmidei Chachamim.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without them, who's protecting us? Without their Torah.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
But the study,
Not,
Rabbi.
it's not that
Deeper than
we
that.
not. It's not. It's not. What they're saying is the Avrechim that can study. Those that can't study, they can't study. Go to the army. You know what the Arab Yitzhak Yosef Shalita said yesterday? That
Yeah.
if they're going to force us, I'm going to put a message, and all of those Avrechim going to leave the country. You know what does it mean? Imagine all the Gedolim said to the Avrechim, leave the country.
Like, heaven forbid.
No protection.
God
Yeah.
forbid. God forbid.
Yeah.
But it will never happen. Kadosh Baruch Hu
There are
will
wheels
never let
within
it
wheels, which we don't understand. So
Absolutely.
we see things at face value and we don't really understand what's behind everything.
Yeah,
So-
that's what David HaMelech said. Im naval titbarer. Okay, when a person behave like this, you have to be like him. You have to know how to answer him.
Yeah. In their language.
Absolutely. The same like we're answering now the Hamas, the language that they
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand any other language. Believe me.
No.
So what is the language going to speak to America?
Sorry? What the
Mr.
language
Biden.
we have to speak to America, to Biden?
Oh,
It's
Mr.
not
Biden.
Many of you think it's Biden. It's not Biden.
Not him.
Biden can't even walk properly. Never mind talk. You hear him talking.
It's
says
Obama
that,
and Harris.
It's just a dolly. It's someone else behind it.
Mr. Biden. Mr. Biden.
It's all the BDS. It's all of
Correct.
anti-Israel.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But it's turning back on them. It'll come. It's turning back.
Everything. You know, when you bite the finger that look after you,
Yeah.
will come back to you. You know,
Don't bite the finger that hurt.
yeah. You don't bite the finger that fed you. Maybe not now, but it's take time.
Yeah. Sure.
It was a bit heavy concept, and today with the show, I hope that Rabotai, you'll get a different idea when you read the Megillah next time in Purim. Will give us Be'ezrat Hashem next week. We'll do the last chapters of the Megillah, because we finished chapter 6 today, and so Be'ezrat Hashem will do all the other chapters. Although if you look at the last chapter, chapter 10 have only 3 verses. There's nothing really major on it. But the others, Be'ezrat Hashem, will try to go through 7, 8, and 9. Be'ezrat Hashem, a little bit about chapter 10. But those, the major understanding to help us to understand what's happening in Persia, what's happening with Hashverosh and Aman HaRasha.
Yep.
Okay, Rabotai, thank you very much. Have Shavua Tov, a beautiful week ahead. Look after yourself. A safe week to us, a safe week to Kol Am Yisrael, to everyone. And Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say enough to our tzoros and send us Mashiach Tzidkenu speedily in our day. Amen. Ken Yeh Ratzon, that we should see miracle. Everyone, thank you very much for joining. Have a good night. All the best. Good night, everyone.